All right, boils and ghouls. So, continuing with the Critters series, and I'm hoping I think I'm getting sick with something, and I'm fucking pissed because I said last week my dad was feeling sick, and we usually go to Super Bowl and meet up there. Then I saw him yesterday, and now I'm congested. Like my nose is running, I'm sneezing, like I'm pissed. So I figure let's get this out of the way before like I'm crippled or something. Hopefully it's just like a quick little bug. But Critters 2, the main course from 1988. Now I don't remember this movie at all. Like the first movie that I barely remembered. But I had a blast rewatching the first Critters. Like that was a great rewatch. And I like how they kept the critters out of the spotlight for a lot of it. It made them creepy. Now, this is the directorial debut of Mick Garris, who I mean, he's written some amazing stuff, like most notably for me, Hocus Pocus, which is just a nostalgia ridden, just amazing film for me that I watch every single year. And I think a lot of people just adore that film. So I mean, just with that, and this was co-written by David Twohy, who went on to do The Fugitive and The Perfect Getaway. I did recently, it's a lot of movies. So this gives me a little bit of hope. Now I don't know where this takes place or what the plot for this movie is in any shape or form at all. I don't know if it's a continuation of the first movie because at the end of the first film, we see eggs, like critter eggs, in the farm, like the farmhouse, and they start to hatch. So, does it take place in the same town and they're running amok all over the place? I don't know. We're going to find out. So, let's talk Critters 2 from 1988. The year I was born. Great year. Already a good start. But Garris, I mean, he's not like a director, like I said, that I love or anything like that. I mean, he doesn't have too many movies under his belt directing wise, but he directed Batteries Not Included from like the year or two before this, if I recall. That's all right. It's not a great movie or anything. And then he wrote Hocus Pocus. He wrote this and directed this. Then he directed Sleepwalkers, which I haven't seen in forever, but that's a decent one. And then after that, I mean, Nightmare Cinema is the most recent one. I know that. That was all right. Besides that, he hasn't really done a lot for me to like praise Garris as a director or anything like that. He is a great writer, though. I'll say that. All right, like here's a good analogy. Maybe I feel like Garris is more of a horror figure in the horror community, like as a whole, the whole horror community. That get you see him and hear him talk in interviews and at conventions and stuff more than he's made movies and worked on films. If that makes any sense, like he has a podcast, I think for forever now, and he has a lot of guest roles in movies. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Mick Garris it seems like the nicest guy ever too. But I feel, yeah, he's not like a director I can say, oh, Mick Garris, yeah, great director. It's good, but I wish we had more from him, honestly, after like all these decades. I don't know which movie is the one where the critters just go ape shit and like aren't scary anymore, and they grow or they talk or God forbid, I don't know. I'm excited to find out. A little scared, but excited. But with Mick Garris writing, co-writing and directing here, I have a feeling this is going to be like the Ghoulies 2 of the franchise, where it's still good, but it's a lot more ridiculous. Like, that's my prediction for this one. Off the bat, love the title card. How it just says Critters 2, and then if you hear and it gets eaten away. Cool title card. We have the Chiodo brothers who did the effects and puppetry and stuff for the first Critters returning here. And this is a direct continuation, which I really like that. Like you guys know, continuity is a big thing for me. So I love when and it's the same actor. I just said it. I don't remember who plays Brad. Fuck Brad and everybody who looks like Brad. He got accepted into dental school. Yeah, in the Philippines after 4 tries. But he's now 15 years old and he's going to visit his grandma. And before this, we see Ugg and Lee again. So they're back. The shape-shifting hitmen from the first movie, and then they talk to this awesome looking, like, I guess he's like the head alien dude. The way that his design is, that looks great. He ends up telling them the critters are detected on Earth again. This is 2 years after the events of the first movie, and they have to go check it out and exterminate them. So I'm glad right off the bat that it's a continuation directly from the first film. Brad's riding the bus to his grandma's, and I like that the bus driver calls them, because he says, "You ever hear these space porcupines?" That's great, because in the first movie they shoot the quills, the needles out of them. Space porcupines is a great nickname for the critters. I hope they use that more often. It's not just this guy's one-time usage, and that they came down from UFOs and stuff. So, like, I guess there was a big story from the first movie. How can it not be? So I guess people know who he is. All right, we got the great Lin Shaye back in the same role as Sally. So this is great so far. I'm really enjoying the setup for this second film. Let's just hope it doesn't nosedive or some shit into just like weird terribleness. So yeah, they all know this guy. They all know Bradley Brown, and I love that Sally says the boy who cried critter. So everybody knows this person. But weren't they from the same place? Like, we see them in the movie in the first one. They don't believe him. Like, people believe him, right? Like, please tell me people believe this kid, because there was a lot of chaos and havoc by the critters. So don't tell me they're all looking at him like he's crazy or some shit. So yeah, they all think he's crazy, which I don't know how I feel about that. So Bradley, I'll call him Bradley now because he's a little older. Brad when he's younger, Bradley now. It's like Pokemon evolution. So Bradley ends up at his grandma's place, which is a daycare center. So she runs his daycare center. Good for her. I mean, she's looks like she's pushing 70-ish or something like that. She's got a lot of kids in there. Then we get a fucking dog jump scare. God damn it. I hate animal jump scares. Critters 2, you were doing so well so far. So Sal, Lin Shaye's character, ends up going to, they even have the sheriff, but it's not the same actor, right? Because this guy looks totally different. He looks familiar, this actor. It's not the same as the first one. He goes asking him for help, saying that Bradley's back in town and you know about the critter situation. He's like, why the hell would I come do anything to do with these critters again? And then she leaves and he says pretty much, fuck you, get away, I'm not helping. So then we got like this crazy guy who like runs an underground like alcohol for teens and Playboy black market ring. It seems like, and this teenager's there, and he's saying that he wanted Meister Brew, and he says, I ain't got no Meister Brew, and this guy's not very good at his job either. This black market dealer, because he just lets the seller dictate everything to him. He's like, oh, it's not Meister Brew, I'm taking 2 of these, and I'm taking some of these Playboys. And then he just says, teenagers, nah, yo. As soon as he says, I'm taking 2 of these, you're like, no, you're taking 1 of these. And whatever, it doesn't have to do with anything. But he also has critter eggs. And he says, what am I going to do with all these? So where did he get them? Do they explain that? And we see Ugg and Lee in the spaceship with Charlie, the crazy but not crazy alcoholic from the first movie that went with them at the end to travel around the universe and shit. I like that they brought him back. Like, this is a very good, very well written setup for a sequel to the first film. This is very good so far. So I'm just praying it stays at some type of consistent level like this. But the writing is great so far to set this premise up 15 minutes into the movie. And Charlie, man, he must be having a blast. Like, he has to travel zipping around the galaxies and stuff with 2 alien hitmen for 2 years straight. And he asks them, like, you wouldn't just leave me on Earth, right? Because they're heading back to Earth. And he says he misses this one friend of his. And they say, yeah, Brad, which is now Bradley. So I'm sure they're going to leave his ass on Earth, right? At the end of this movie for some reason. But, what an opportunity. Like I say all the time, if a UFO came down, I would jump right on there. Take me zipping around, get me off this piece of shit rock. So this guy's been having the most fun out of anyone in the cast of the original film and so far in this movie. I mean, I'm sure he was a huge alcoholic, so I'm sure the DTs and withdrawal and stuff wasn't fun for the first few days up there. But they're space aliens, so I'm sure they have a way to detox them fast. So that teenager earlier who bought stole pretty much the 2 things of beer, 2 cases of beer, the Playboys. He's kind of seeing this girl Megan, but like, I don't know. She doesn't want anything to do with him really. And they're at a place called the Hungry Heifer, which is just a great name. I'd eat there. But then he starts getting pushy, Wesley, with the girl. And Brad comes and this, he's putting up his hands, putting his dukes up. And he's like, I don't want to, but like, just stop it, just cool it. I like the whole chemistry we get because Megan ends up driving Bradley away after that altercation with Wesley. And they end up talking, and she reminds him that they went to school together. And he says, does your father still run the paper? And she says, yeah, I'm a reporter there. And first of all, why is so many goddamn movies? It's not even just horror, but there's so many movies where the main character or side character is a journalist or a reporter. We've seen so much of that. Like, can we not have that in movies ever again? But she's a reporter, and then he says, oh, that's cool, like Jimmy Olsen with breasts. And she looks at him like confused and like, you just said that? That's a great joke. See, again, this guy, his name is Len, the black market dealer. He sucks at his job because the grandma of Brad comes in with the little girl, her name's Cindy, and she wants the eggs. She says they're Easter eggs, and he says he got them from Europe. So I don't know if they do explain later on where he actually found them, but he doesn't want to say where. He just makes up a place, Europe. So yeah, of course it comes from over there with you Brits. But he starts saying, she says how much you want for them. He says $10 a piece. He's got, I don't know, 2 dozen at least in the baskets, maybe more. So he says $10 a piece, and she's like, no, that's not what you're going to ask the church, right? He goes, no, of course not. So she says $20 for the whole basket. And he says, no, he says 25 for half the basket. She says 20 for half the basket, and he agrees. This guy, she's a great negotiator. He's terrible. So they should switch professions. She should be a negotiator, and he should probably not run a daycare. All right, so this movie takes place either on or right, like leading up to Easter. So I never knew that. So this is a little Easter horror film. But then she ends up giving one of the eggs and a delicious looking chocolate bunny to Cindy, the little girl. So that's not a good move. I'm all for eating and killing kids, but only if they're bad kids that have killed or done something extremely wrong. Not innocent little Cindy here. This guy Len, like I said, he is not a good black market dealer. Yeah, a black dealer. He deals blacks. That's what Len does. He's not a good black market dealer because he gets killed immediately on top of all that stuff I said earlier. But the critters in this movie and the effects look great so far. Like, they look really good. You see the critters much more right in the scene here. Like, you see them with the glowing red eyes. You see a bunch of them, and the puppet work is great. They even have a little, because the kills weren't too memorable in the first movie, and the attacks, and it wasn't really had any gore or anything like that. You see this guy's, and that's something you don't see often. Like, you see limbs get bitten off, but you don't see the tip of his foot, like his shoe, get bitten off by a critter. And then they're in all ball shape, like Sonic the Hedgehog, and they're on top of him. That was a cool scene and great puppet work. The fuck is wrong with this kid, Cindy? I said she was innocent and a cute kid earlier, but she kept the chocolate bunny for the rest of this night, and then she puts it on the floor and goes to bed. What's wrong with her? What an evil thing to do, to get a gift chocolate from your nana or whatever she is to her, and then just let it melt overnight to nothingness. So yeah, feel free to punt the shit out of Cindy too. Remember I said it's usually only killer kids and crimes that are that high up. That's one of those crimes. That's funny. So Cindy's getting ready for bed, and the critter egg, I like how you get a little POV shot of the baby critter. You don't see it, but it comes and starts like crittering around the floor to her bed, and it looks like it's about to like try to attack her or jump up to her. And the dad comes in and squishes the shit out of it. And then he pulls his foot up, and it's like this gooey green stuff, and he thinks it's just the Easter egg, like stuff inside the Easter egg. He says it sure makes a lot of mess here, Easter candy. That's funny. So Bradley's grandma and all the kids it says daycare, but it seems like they're with her all the time, like they reside there. So it feels more like an orphanage than it feels like a daycare. But they're doing an Easter egg hunt. It is Easter. It's on Easter Day. and we see some of the eggs, the critter eggs, that they hatch. So now, let me say this. This is the first like half hour of this movie. Great. Great in almost every way, better than the original for me. Upon my, watch of that one. I'm loving everything for the most part in this first act of the movie. So I'm hoping as long as it stays with the style of like and the tone in that scene with Len, the terrible black dealer, when he gets killed, and the effects and the puppetry, how good that looks and everything. If it keeps that same semi-serious tone, like not complete insanity, this might be my favorite over the first one. I don't want to jinx it, but too damn late. As soon as I said that comment of hope it doesn't get like insane, we get this insane scene, but in a great way. Like I was laughing my ass off at this. But there is a nitpick, a small one at the end of this little side note we're going on here, like always. There's a guy. He's one hell of a method actor. He's dressed up like the Easter Bunny, and he's actually hopping around and stuff like that. And then critters, he sees one of the eggs, that hatched already on the ground, and some of the critters jump through the back of the bunny suit into his suit. So he starts like, oh no. And then I thought it was just going to end like that. And I was like, that's kind of a stupid kill. Then I'm glad because then they're in church. Everybody, Brad, the whole town, and the Easter Bunny dude in the suit comes crashing through the window and everyone's freaking out. And then you see his body land and there's blood and stuff and holes in him kind of. It looks good. Then it cuts to the next scene and they're all outside trying to figure out what happened. Where'd the critters go? Like, that's the nitpick. Where'd they go after that? They were inside of his suit, eating away at him. And then he jumped through the window with them in his suit. And then no one saw critters. They're pretty decent size. They're like big balls, maybe, like that. Nobody saw them, like, escape from the bunny suit. I don't know about that. Like, where did they go, is my point. Hilarious and great scene. This is like what I thought, like with Ghoulies too, but this is even better. Quality-wise and serious, like tone-wise, this is much better so far. But this is like I said with Ghoulies too. It's just a little more up the ante on the craziness, but you can still have fun with this. Like, absolute blast with this movie so far. I don't know how the rest are, but we'll find out as time goes on. It's also funny as hell that Ugg and Lee, the hitmen aliens with Charlie, they finally make it to Earth. And Lee or Ugg, I forget which one. I think Ugg is still the rock star, Johnny Steele from the first movie, which is great. But the other one, then they call him a no face, and he's got to stay a no face until he finds like a suitable body. Disguise, that's great. And then they end up on Earth, and Charlie finds one of the Playboys that fell off like Wesley's truck or out of his car earlier. And he says, oh, these are great, like good for reading, good articles, which is hilarious in its own right. And then Lee ends up turning into like the centerfold model from the Playboy. And what a great sequence we get at when he transforms into her. Like, she's a Playboy model. So like you see her like his ass like turning and like molding into like a beautiful woman's ass. The tits come out and everything. It's very creative. So let me give a shout out again to the Chiodo brothers for the effects done in this movie. Like, not just the puppetry. That's a great scene when he's transforming into this Playboy girl. Do you think it's weird for Ugg now that Lee is like a gorgeous Playboy model? Like, he's used to him in like a male form. So do you think that he's thinking about, maybe fuck Lee tonight, or maybe they're so advanced they don't have sex, they don't procreate, they don't have sexual pleasure, and so this has nothing to do with Brad, Megan, and Sally are together, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do to stop the critter invasion again this time. And I love that he says to Megan, "Who are you gonna call? Critter Busters?" That's funny too, man. This scene here is excellent, like excellently executed. When the three of them go look for Mr. Quigley, all the puppet work, all the effects work in this scene, top tier. And I mean, of course, it's Shoto Brothers. They always do a great job, but it looks so good. We see Mr. Quigley's body fall out of the house, and like it's like a mini jump scare on Bradley, and his eyes gouged out, and he's all eaten up. He falls to the ground. And then the critters are there, and there are bigger ones and stuff, but they look scary still. They look intimidating. They don't look like the ghoulies and like gremlins and stuff where they don't look intimidating in the slightest. They still look very good. And they're flinging themselves like Sonic and little balls at the car. One of them gets inside the car and he ends up biting on the tire. And then as they drive away, it like ends up spinning and crushing his head. That's hilarious. And what a great little detail to throw in there. Like they didn't have to put that effect in, but it works like very, very well. The eyes look great on the critters. They're shooting the darts, not darts, quills, the porcupine needle things they have at the car, and cool reverse shots. So I'm guessing that's how they did it. You see the quills hitting the car. What a great scene. Like this is better than anything I saw in the first movie, honestly. Especially when it comes to the puppets and effects work. Oh, then we get the beautiful reuniting of Brad and Charlie. When the hitmen, Ugg and Lee, show up with Charlie and they all meet up. So now the whole group's together. And he gets, hey, I get Bradley and they get the reunite. It's great. It's sweet. It's cute. It's lovable. I like it. I'm sorry. There's no way Ugg is walking around Lee, that he's probably known forever, looking like this model and not had just even a slight tingle or thought about trying to fuck her. There's no way. I had some mixed feelings with this scene here, but now that I'm thinking about it, and again, because of the effects work, it's great. Like I have issues, but it's still in that realm of just entertaining, over the top, but in a good way, a fun way, and not a terrible way like Ghoulies Goes to College or that level of stupidity. So the hitmen Ugg and Lee go into this restaurant or something, and all the critters there. And again, they look fantastic with the teeth and everything. One of them they start blasting the hell out of all these critters. And just the effects of them exploding into green shit, blood and guts, that looks cool. Then they go, uh-oh. So I don't like that. Like, do they talk in later ones? Like, did they talk in the first one and I completely missed it? I really don't think so. But I just don't like the idea of these little creatures in any little creature movies talking. Unless, like, there's a damn good reason for it. Not with them, and I don't like that. But the effects of the other one getting knocked into the fryer and he comes out and all the fur is gone. That looks excellent. And then the other one gets the top of his head blown off, like, but it's only like his hair, like the fur on the top of his head. So then he looks in the mirror and he says "bitchin'." So that's dumb. But then, but all of it works like very, very well. An actual smart decision. The father of Megan, pretty sure it was him, right? Ends up calling and saying that send the state police. So I like that they threw that in there. At least they're thinking rationally. He gets a quill shot into his neck. That looks pretty cool. Apparently, getting hit with the quill from them knocks you out because they're carrying his ass. We get a nice little poster of Freddy Krueger behind Charlie when they're trying to hunt the Krites at night. That's cool. And then we have, yeah, it was Lee, the one who turns into the model. She's going, he, whatever, is going through some stuff, like dealing with something, and like she ends up transforming into like this goofy guy who worked at the Hungry Heifer and is him for a while, but then ends up they try to get him to turn back into the model, and it does, and then it starts killing critters again. I don't know. I don't care for any of that. Then that's who Harv, right? The former sheriff. He comes and he quick draw McGraws and shoots like 7 of the critters and saves Bradley and Megan. But like, how come in the scene? I get it. The hitman Ugg and Lee are using big ass like rocket launches almost, and they're exploding with the green stuff everywhere. But he's shooting all of them. Like it's not even a single like splatter of green blood or anything like that. See, in any other movie, this would not work for me. The plan they devise is a town. Let's get them into Polar Burger, the hamburger factory. But it works here because they're hungry. They need to eat. That's all they do. And they eat meat. So to trap them in a burger place, It's a pretty damn good idea, but it wouldn't work for me in any other movie, really, or any other context. It would be stupid. But this just makes sense for the movie. You see the shots of the critters eating the cows. That looks fantastic too. Let me say this: the puppet work in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. Like, it is so well done. All the puppetry in this film, better than any of the other. I mean, I don't want to say better than Rick Baker's work in Gremlins 2, but for all these little creature films, it's some of the best, if not the best, like puppet work for the creatures that I've ever seen. And the way that the effects on the dead cow look great too. How it's almost a skeleton because they've eaten most of it. As much as I said it's a great plan, and Brad came up with it, so good thinking, Brad. Now I really feel like a hamburger, like a cheeseburger, baconator, or something like that. So now I'm pissed, and that's evil. So now you could throw Brad onto the list, and you can feel free to kick his ass too. So after more great effects work and critters causing havoc, they trap him into the burger place, and it blows up. They blow it up, and they prematurely celebrate, thinking it's over. And this I do remember. I mean, this is iconic. The giant critter ball. It's right above me. It's on the poster. I remember this from Blockbuster, seeing this on the poster. So I always remember the critter ball, but I don't remember seeing it like in forever. So it looks great. Like some of the shots of it, like rotating, like as it goes down the street, and you see the little critters opening their mouths. So good. Some of it gets a little stupid, like they're driving the truck. Brad, he's trying to cut off the critter ball before it hits the church where the orphanage is, and it starts turning. Like the critter ball knows how to turn, how to like coordinate that, how to like make it turn. But then hilarious scene and great way that they're taken out is Charlie's flying the spaceship, and he screams, he kamikaze bombs into the critter ball before it hits the orphanage slash daycare slash church. And he screams out, "I'm a bounty hunter!" And then boom, crashes, explodes. All the critters are dead, and all is well until. So Ugg is getting ready to take off and go back into space, and then we find out Charlie's alive. He ended up, I mean, shooting out of the spaceship at the last moment, I guess, with a parachute, and he ends up surviving. Ugg is wearing Charlie as a disguise, so they both looked exactly the same. They're both Charlie. And then Charlie stays behind and becomes the sheriff. But the way it happens, there's no fucking way. I mean, the sheriff just takes his badge and just tosses it to Charlie. Says, "You're the new sheriff now," or something like that. That's not how that works. There's a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. There's no way this guy just becomes a sheriff like this. But what a great ending. Let me say this now. This rewatch of a film I haven't seen in forever, out of at least 700, 800 movies I've talked about on this channel, this is one of the best rewatches of an 80s horror film for me that I haven't seen in a while. This was just so much fun. This was such a great rewatch. I love all the characters in this. Like, you get to care about them more in this movie than the first movie for sure. All the puppetry and effects work I can't praise enough. Like I said a few times, it looks excellent. It's not over the top ridiculous most of the time. Like, this is nowhere near Ghoulies 2 ridiculous, or Gremlins 2 at all. Like, this is definitely the more serious sequel out of those three movies. And I really like that. The critters look scary at times. And then when they don't, they look ridiculous, but it looks great the way that it's pulled off. I like the story. I like just some of the cute little things that are thrown in here. Yeah, this is just such a great sequel to a good first film that I've had a great time watching that one recently. So I'm hoping it continues a little. I've heard that it doesn't, that it kind of crashes after this film with the third movie, but it's Leonardo DiCaprio's first role. So that's the only thing I remember from ever seeing that film as a kid, was seeing young Leonardo DiCaprio. Besides that, I don't remember a goddamn thing. But I didn't remember a thing to this really, except the critter ball. And this was just such a fun rewatch. So, all right, guys, wherever you're from, hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, night. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.